Before we start, I'd like to ask Officer Lyle to lead us in the
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I figured you guys wouldn't mind seeing Officer Lyle today. I kept it in the red theme.
roll call.
Mr. DeCarlo?
Here.
Mr. Hoffman?
Here.
Mr. Condit?
Here.
Mr. Molina,
Here.
Mr. Silverston?
Here.
Mr. Wiggins?
Here.
Approval of minutes for March 22nd, 2016.
Move to approve.
Second.
Roll call on approval of minutes.
Mr. Hoffman?
Abstain.
Mr. Condit?
Yes.
Mr. Molina,
Yes.
Mr. Silverston?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggins?
Yes.
Mr. DeCarlo?
Yes.
Amendments to the agenda.
Yes, there's one amendment, resolution number 33, 2016. Resolution to authorize and direct the fiscal officer to pay directly to Police Chief Jeff Buck the amount of $35,984.32 to buy back a portion of Chief Buck's accrued sick time and declaring an emergency.
Need a second?
Second.
Anybody? Roll call. No, but Holmes and...
Mr. Condit?
Yes.
Mr. Molina,
Yes.
Mr. Silverston?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggins?
Yes.
Mr. DeCarlo?
Yes.
Mr. Hoffman? Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to reports. Mayor?
Just a couple things. They're gonna start demoing the house probably early May on Georgia Street. It shouldn't take them more than a week to do it. They're gonna detour the traffic. It says middle to late April. It's gonna start for the roundabout at 91 in Glenwood. So you'll be able to get down to Heinens. But the detour coming back the other way is you're gonna have to use Post Road. If you're coming north on 91, you'll have to use Post Road. And then left on the Liberty and head north the rest of the way on Liberty. So, flag disposals going on at VFW at 925 Ravenna Road. They're gonna have a ceremony at Chamberlain Park on April 30th at noon to burn flags. And I'm sure I'll have some comments as we go through. So, that's all I got right now.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Carpenter?
Thank you, Mario. I didn't add it, Mr. DeCarlo's ordinance 8/2016. That's the traffic, or the parking bureau that we're creating. Talked with Chief Buck about it today. He asked that we pass this by emergency tonight if possible, so that we can go ahead and get this down to the court. You'll see this requires the court's approval still. So after this is passed and signed, if you could give me a certified copy that I can take down to the court, I'd appreciate it.
Okay.
That's it.
Does this create more money that we have to pay?
Possible, more money than we have to pay. Yes,
I mean,
it's
is it have
possible.
to have like,
I think the net
is
of
Lyle
it
gonna
is,
do it, or is there gonna be somebody dedicated to this parking bureau?
yeah, I talked to Chief Buck about that, and hopefully we can use Mark Wilson for that, getting bonded to collect money like the clerk of mayor's court used to do, because that person will be collecting money. It also requires that if someone appeals a ticket, that someone has to be hired and put into place to hear those appeals, and that person's going to be
A
a
magistrate.
former police officer. It
Oh,
could be a
or
lawyer,
an attorney.
it can be a lawyer or a former police officer, not a present police officer, because they're obviously writing the tickets, so. So who knows how many appeals you would have on that, but yes, there's gonna be some fees involved additionally, but I'm guessing that the payment of the tickets will make it a net profit. You would hope.
Alright.
Paul, 2 questions if I may.
Yeah.
What was the initial initial impetus? What got this ball rolling?
Now, you'd have to ask Mr. DeCarlo that one.
I know some things were like people parking too close to intersections.
Snow plowing
Just-
cars on the road during snow events.
Right, because we can't say, oh, it's over 2 inches, you know, you can't park on the street, we can't enforce anything like that.
The overnight parking.
Overnight parking, parking on both sides of the street, next to each other.
Right.
I think a lot of it is from these private streets, that,
They're so
I think
narrow.
most of it came from that, the initial push for it came from some of these newer developments, that have much narrower streets, so that when you have cars on either side of the street, that it
It's a
creates
slop.
a traffic
Yeah,
problem.
exactly, kind of like Lakewood. So the, kind of leading to, that leads into my second question. First, what I understood the answer to the first question to be was that it rose out of need, sort of safety and inconvenience. But the second question being, how will people know that they're doing something wrong? If they're doing all these things
Signage.
now, parking on the wrong side of this, we will have signs that say, no parking here, that sort of thing.
We put signs up, but there's no enforcement right now.
Ah,
And
'Cause I know
especially if you
that-
got a private
yeah.
street, there's no enforcement on a private street.
okay, so it gives us leverage as well, the actual ability to act,
Gives you the ability to act.
okay.
Whereas now I think our police officers actually just knock on doors and say, would you please move the car? And I'm not saying they won't still do that to some extent, particularly with the snow plows. Because you know, giving a ticket on a night where you have to plow, putting a ticket on
It
the
still
car
doesn't help
doesn't
them.
resolve the problem.
Exactly.
So they'll probably still be going up to the door and say, would you please move the car so we can plow?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that was one of the things Chief Buck mentioned about the snow plowing.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're still gonna do the same thing, probably.
yeah.
Hopefully if the one ticket they can do it.
Thank you. Rec Center? You have my search
Maybe
notes.
Just do it.
I know, he's got my notes.
Oh.
We had a construction meeting last Wednesday. The previous Wednesday meeting was canceled and moved up, or back a week, and we're gonna go back to a every other week cycle from this past Wednesday. A few things we went through and approved. Here we go. First off, the pool is in. They were pouring the concrete Monday, Tuesday last week. When we were up there on Wednesday, they were actually doing the plumbing for the pool, making connections for the skimmers and the filters and all that kind of cool stuff. We picked up tile for the upper part of the pool wall. Talked about the enclosure for the dumpster. Right now, we're looking at a chain link fence with slats in, the colored slats on an angle that will match the building. We're waiting for samples on the floor for the Zumba room, and we're waiting for samples and ideas for the walking track, for the different types of railings that are available. And that's it. Any questions?
Yeah, I've asked this, but I'm gonna ask it in the meeting. It's been almost a month and it looks like nothing has been done to that building.
Have you
The
been
steel,
in it?
I haven't been in it,
Go look inside.
but the outside should look like it's going up in like 2 weeks. Because when you do a framing of a building, that goes instant, it looks like it's almost done.
The whole front end, they're even drywall in the whole inside of there. The only thing that's not up is steel over the basketball court, and that has to do with the payments that we gotta get straightened out with the DFA.
And the centerpiece between the old Stamp Fitness and the gym, that hasn't been touched either. I hope they're not drywalling that, it's not even weatherproof.
That's
No,
the
that's
pool,
what- that's
it's
where
gotta
they're-
stay open so they can put the pool in.
That's why that one section of
That's in
front
the
wall.
back. the whole front, and nothing's been done either.
But they
It just
still-
looks like nothing's been done.
They can't
That's-
do drywall in there because the room's not
Oh, no, I
sealed.
don't want
And
them
they
to
gotta
do
get
drywall
the
in there.
equipment in to do the pool and the splash pad.
They have to have room for the pool. I've been gone for 5 weeks, so one of the first things I did when I came back into town was I did walk in there, and I'll tell you, I was impressed how much they did get done. The electrical's
I
done.
didn't think the pool would be done, as far along as it is right now.
The plumbing, they've done the plumbing, they've done the electrical. About half the building is totally closed in right now. The parts that is not closed in is because they have to have the ability to maneuver some equipment and being able to finish the jobs.
There's big
So
piles
I think
there.
they're on schedule. I do believe they're on schedule.
Okay, to me, it looks like nothing has been done.
Are there opportunities for council people to go in and just to take a look and see?
I didn't ask, I just did it, so I don't think anyone, they don't have armed guards up there.
If they're working, you need to go in and get a hard hat,
I've got one in
and
my,
go see Rob. And Rob,
but that's during,
Rob will
yeah,
take-
but that's during the day though.
yeah.
If you work, that makes it tough. But- Okay, as long as you guys assure me, because it doesn't look good.
Well, the 2014, 2015 audit, I would say is about 80 to 85% finished. The audit team is finished, will not be back in our office, they were here last week. And somebody knocked on wood, it seems to go very smoothly. Thank you, Stacy. I would also like to thank Stacy publicly because part of why it went so smoothly was because of her keeping the records with legislation, copies of contracts, and the minutes up to date and easily accessible. So that's something that we've, it's also Stacy's birthday, so. But that was a big part of how quickly they were able to go through things, so, it won't be fully complete until probably mid-June, but the rest of what we have to do will be done on the phone and through email, and, seems to be going pretty well.
I remember when you were starting, you said one auditor would be so different than the next auditor. Was there consistency?
Well, it is
Same
the
company.
same audit team that was here last time. It's Charles Harris that is contracted by the state, and the same lead person who I particularly like. I think she's very thorough, she explains things, she asks questions, and she just seems to handle it very well. And there may be a couple things that they went back on, for example, the way that we receive JED money.
You were gonna say that.
They may tell us to go back to the way we used to do it, even though they're the ones that told us to change it. But we talked about that and the issues that it has caused for how we used to transfer money and where the expenses have to go now because of that difference. And I reminded them that Twinsburg Township is able to receive their JED portion into their general fund. And they're audited by the state as well, and so they may go back to allowing us to do that.
Until next year.
Until next time, but that was really the only thing that seemed to possibly change. If there aren't any other questions on the audits, does council have any questions on, I sent an email this afternoon about the ordinance 9 and subsequent ordinances and resolutions that may be passed. If anybody has questions, we have to answer them.
So we do not need to pass that by emergency.
Correct.
Thank you, Deborah.
We can go back to engineering.
Okay.
You skip it.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Engineering T, sorry about that.
I saw you crying back there that you didn't get to go.
Okay, the NTO bridge, we haven't had any updates on that. I spoke with Gene earlier today, and he has asked that I request a letter from Mr. Carpenter to ECS, requesting a meeting so that we can push this forward. We've been more than lenient on giving them time, so he wants to give them a push here. The salt barn, we're looking to complete a cleanup project around the salt barn back here. We're looking to work out a deal with Severini's to have them go in and clean out anything that could be chipped, and that would help offset some of the purchases that we make from their company. And then, once that is done, if the legislation is passed, we would like to work with Trimore to complete the remainder of the cleanup project, not to exceed $25,000. That is legislation that's on the agenda. I have on here the OHM annual report. The last time I gave a report, I spoke about that, and I just wanted to put that on there in case you guys had any follow-up, since it was a 25-page document. I didn't expect you guys to read it that night. So if you guys had any questions or follow-up on that, I'd be willing to take your questions, and if I can't answer them, take them back to Gene. See none. The FEMA pre-disaster mitigation program, we're still looking into this. It looks like it's gonna be harder to get money than they made the application sound. They're wanting a lot more documentation than what we have of serious expenses that came from the flooding. But we're still looking into it, seeing if we can qualify for any of the funding. California Street, we're aiming for May to put that out to bid. So we could be looking at summertime to start. And as far as construction status, Regatta, we're still working on the punch list now that winter's over. Hopefully we can get that all cleaned up and close that out. I am working on closing out the Cleveland water portion of it, because they said that they're not going to approve that additional expense that we sent over to them until we close out the entire project. So I'll be working on that the rest of this week. Harrington Phase 8, we have received some applications for housing permits. We do have a punch list open for E&O development to complete before we issue those permits. So I have 3 of those sitting on my desk waiting for John Evanson's reply. Liberty Ledges Phase 4, Planning Commission met, and we did a pre-con meeting today, so once the legislation is approved.
Is there, Sam or Terry, is there any movement on that second entrance that all the folks in Liberty Ledges were hoping or wanting that?
They are fine without it. They're actually quite happy, apparently. The developer spent, 2 hours with them over down at Heritage Hall. And he said when they left, they gave him a standing ovation.
Good.
Told they were happy with the way it was and the things that he promised them, and okay.
Thank you.
There's legislation for Liberty Ledges Phase 4. With the pre-con meeting that we had today, they'll be ready to go once we approve the legislation for that. Senior apartments, Mr. Rodick reported to me that that project has been delayed because they're replacing their HVAC subcontractor. So there is a little bit of a delay because they replaced one of the companies. So he said he has not been in there for a couple weeks because of the delay. Glenwood Greens, the zoning board has recommended approval of the variance request, and I gave that information to Mr. Carpenter for the meeting, so you should see legislation for that shortly. That's all I have.
Thank you.
And Glenwood Greens is like 23 units already.
Yes.
How many total? I don't know how many total is it? 35 or something?
34, 35, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you drive through there, every house, every lot has a sold sign on it. It's pretty much.
service department, Sam's report is on box, I just wanted to highlight a few things. They went out and checked seniors' driveways for snowplow damage, which was minimal, due to the fact they only plowed twice. He's looking at getting pricing on putting the gutter cables in at on the service department roof and Heritage Hall, so we can eliminate some of that ice backup that they're having down there, because what's on this building out here works. With the little bit of snow we had, worked very well. The guys went down Glenwood between the pond by Aurora Shores, all the way down to the open field before you get to Drug Mart, cleaning up those woods, pulling out down trees, collecting trash, and it does look a lot better. During the election, when they had all the voting equipment up here, they went through and painted that whole one wall in the service garage. If any of you guys have been up there in the past, it was just, it looked terrible, so, you know, Chris is cleaning that up. And he installed some additional hanging baskets. I don't know if you'll notice on either side of the entrance here and the door down by the fire department, there's brackets hanging, so we'll have some nice baskets for the summer.
All right, how are we doing on salt?
We should have enough for next year.
Right. That's good.
All right. Officer Lau, do you have a report for the chief?
Chief didn't have anything.
Okay, thank you. Chief Johns?
You received part of our report in advance. On Friday the 15th, we're gonna provide a fire extinguisher safety training class. I use class loosely for village employees around, I think, 2 o'clock. Correct. So any village employee that has to be around that day, come on down by the fire station here, and if you guys are off duty, you want to come in. This is part to fulfill the insurance request. So it won't be more than 15 or 20 minutes, and yes, we will burn something outside.
It's gonna be you and Stacy.
Just if you wanted to use the extinguisher, it's fine.
On Thursday the 21st, Ramsey and Associates will be here giving a fire lieutenant promotional exam here at council chambers at $1,900.
How many people?
Just 8. So that is the certified list for us. We've been without a list for about a year and a half now. So, and in case any openings do come about in the next few years. I had a question, the roundabout, I know Stacy's talked to me about this before. Is there an exact date when they're closing the road?
It says end of April.
Just the end of April?
Mid to late April.
Okay.
So they're getting real close on the bid.
Okay. And the last thing I have is tomorrow, there's an outside chance tomorrow, if not sometime generally this month, the Cleveland Clinic helicopter is going to be doing what they refer to as fly-ins to our landing zone areas. Ever since they put a helicopter down at the Cleveland Clinic in Twinsburg, we tapped into that resource rather than using Metro Life Flight. And it's just now getting involved where we have 5 pre-designated landing zones for the fire department. So if something should happen, we can pick one of the 5 immediately. They have the landing coordinates and all that. And this is kind of like the finalized version. So where they're going to actually come in with a helicopter and do the hazards, overhead power lines, trees, and whatnot. So if it happens tomorrow, and I'm still waiting on the email, he shot me an email around 4 o'clock this afternoon. That's why I don't have much for you. If it does happen tomorrow, you might see the helicopter flying rather low for
We have some up in this area?
We have one right at the entrance of Aurora Shores, the
Yeah.
open field.
The ball field?
The ball field, which I told him both of those are probably pretty saturated, so I don't know if he
Yeah,
plans on
that one,
landing
yeah.
or just
Hovering.
hovering a little bit. The
Down by the
marina,
arena?
Tradewinds Pool, the parking lot there, and then Glen Eagles Golf Course. And they're stationed down in Twinsburg, so there's always the possibility of one of our landing zones, you know, it is tied up because of the summer traffic or the snow or whatnot. We can just drive the patient right down to their helipad. You know, you got a 10-minute drive, and they'll just take off right from there. So, anyways, there's a possibility you might see the helicopter flying around for a little bit tomorrow afternoon. So, that's it.
You might be better off getting a hold of Mark Feldkamp. he's not real quick about returning calls.
Okay.
And if, in your voicemail, if Mark doesn't answer, just call him who you are and ask him to call you, and I'll try to get a hold of him after the meetings to let him know.
Okay. I'll be informing you where we dispatch as well,
Okay.
so that police and fire know.
Thank you, Chief. Architectural Board of Review.
At our last meeting, we approved 1 fence, 4 decks, and 1 garage addition, and we had 1 deck no-show. Our next meeting will be Monday, April 25th.
Thank you, Mark. Planning and zoning.
Everything's what we're gonna cover tonight.
Board of Zoning Appeals, we had one appeal which was passed. Yes, Terry?
And there will be one more on the schedule for May, so I'll be sending out information for that.
Finance?
Finance met today at 6:30. We recommended payments in the amount of $123,613.23. Our next meeting will be in 2 weeks at 6:30, which is the 26th. And there we'll do March's bank recs. That's all.
Thank you, Tom. Communication?
Our communications committee will be meeting actually tomorrow, because we had some scheduling conflicts with the last week. So we'll be meeting tomorrow at 7 o'clock up here at Village Hall, and making progress on the village app, and talking about what other communication items we can do.
Thank you, Mark. Long-term community development.
Our next meeting is actually a week from tonight, the 19th, 6:30 here. Also wanted to bring up, I noticed that the legislation does not include the request we had, I think at the last meeting, to access our budget, or part of our budget for this year, for this proposed park system. Is that still pending? Was that shut down? Just kind of wondering.
Legislation.
Was it?
We left it where you,
Yeah, no, you don't need legislation for that, I just need a price.
Oh. Okay, we can get you a
It'll
final.
be through finance, they'll approve.
Okay.
Did we actually appropriate money for?
This is long-term community development.
yeah,
There was money originally appropriated, they will need more,
Okay,
Yeah.
that's right, I thought, okay. They have enough or not?
based on what was presented.
Right.
For the first planning, they have
Correct.
enough money for the planning.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we can get you nailed on a price then. Thank you.
Parks and Rec.
Parks and Rec, we had our Easter egg hunt, and it went really well. The weather cooperated, and I want to thank the police department for the great job you guys did, and the volunteers we had that helped out as well. And to Stacy, who did so much, it was another good success. We even had a drone taking overhead photos. So that was something new every year. Our next meeting is next Wednesday, the 20th, 7 o'clock in this room.
Thank you, Mark. Records
No.
and Jed.
No report?
Okay, we're going to legislation. We have ordinance 7/2016, an ordinance enacting a lot storm drainage relief program and declaring an emergency first reading. What this will allow us to do is, in areas where we have multiple, 3 or more lots, parcels involved in an issue, we won't have to go out and get individual variances to go on the property, which will, in some cases, especially in the shores, will speed things up. And this was through discussion I had with Gene Esser, and we modeled it after an ordinance that Broadview Heights is using. Ordinance 8/2016, an ordinance creating chapter 353 of the codified ordinances of Reminderville, Ohio, entitled Parking Violations Bureau, first reading, and Mr. Carpenter asked if that goes by emergency. Ordinance 9/2016, an emergency ordinance to make appropriation adjustments for the 2016 village budget, first reading, and we will leave that at first reading. Resolution 2016, a resolution to accept the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve the revised preliminary subdivision plat for the Liberty Ledges subdivision, phases 4, 6, and 7, first reading. Resolution 2016, a resolution to accept the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve the final plat for the Liberty Ledges subdivision, phase 4. Resolution 2016, a resolution to accept the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve the clearing plat for the Liberty Ledges subdivision, phases 6 and 7, first reading. Resolution 2016, a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into and execute an agreement with Trimore Corporation for site work required to be completed around the salt barn for a sum not to exceed $25,000, first reading.
Can we talk about that? Could that be explained?
Well, this goes back to the February letter that we all talked about, that they wanted us to move the salt barn. It's been going on for like 2 years. So we gave them a plan to leave the salt barn where it is and provide mediation on site. Take care of all the stuff that's on there, the concrete and stuff, move it out, put it down, crush it up and put it into the new police station's road that they need to put entranceway for their Sally Port. And the rest of it is to berm around the salt barn. We have to dig it out, berm it, so that any salt leaks out, it doesn't. Yeah.
So when we do all this, they're gonna let the salt barn be, and we can leave it.
They'll let the salt barn be, but they're gonna fine me $10,000. But it's better than paying, it's better than paying $275,000 to move it.
So I'm assuming there's something in writing that says we will allow you to keep it there.
Yep.
And all that, happy, so we don't run into this again in 2 years, or when somebody new comes aboard.
No, we got everything.
Long-term planning, we'll be glad to know we're not gonna put the salt barn where you guys wanna put your butterfly.
Koi pond.
That's good news.
So and then this, okay, my next question is then, part of the $25,000 quote from Trimore includes, looks like it's more than just putting crushed stone over by the new police station. It's
Yeah.
also removing, 12 inches of topsoil dirt, blah, blah, blah. How much of that 25 grand is for that work? Because
He can break it out. I mean, if you wanna charge it to, part of it to, the renovation of the police station, is that what you're talking
and
about?
that's my concern, because we were very adamant that we were not gonna pay any more money than what we already had for the renovation to the police department.
Well, he has more than enough money in his coffers of drug fund, I think, to cover that.
But the legislation has us paying for it, so that's why I'm bringing this up. I think that legislation needs to be broken out better, and the police department portion needs to be taken out of that. That's my opinion. That doesn't mean that's everybody's.
Have Gene break it down. Have Gene tell Trimore to break it down.
Okay.
Did Severino say they would take it now since they were gonna have equipment on site, and all they gotta do is provide the dump trucks now?
That is my understanding.
Okay, because first they said no, it wasn't worth his time and stuff to come and get it, but since the stuff's on site, that they said they would just load it into Severino's trucks for him if he would bring the trucks
I
out.
believe Gene and Sam were going to coordinate between tribal.
Yeah, I heard him talking, but I didn't know if it ever got done. It did get done?
I have not heard.
Okay,
I think we're supposed to have that answer tomorrow.
okay.
That's the only questions I have.
All right.
Resolution 30-2016, a resolution accepting the resignation of Michael Fogg from the Reminderville Service Department effective April 13th, 2016, first reading. That does need to go by emergency. Resolution 31-2016, a resolution to promote Kyle DeRosa from part-time to full-time in the Reminderville Service Department effective April 13th, 2016, first reading. And we do need to pass that because we need to get him on full-time. Resolution 32, 2016, a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Precision Site Works for demolition and site work on village-owned property located at 10591 Georgia Street, Reminderville, Ohio, for a sum not to exceed $6,350, first reading. And Resolution 33, 2016, a resolution to authorize and direct the fiscal officer to pay directly to Police Chief Jeff Buck in the amount of $35,984.32 to buy back a portion of Chief Buck's accrued sick time and declaring an emergency. Old business?
Actually, this could be old business. I just thought of this now. Is there any way we could use the permissive tax for the self-bond expense? Yeah, I didn't think so. Just thought I'd ask.
Any other old business? New business? I have one thing on Friday, April 22nd, commemorating Earth Day. The Summit County Metro will be offering free rides. So if you want to get on a bus and ride around.
Yeah. Oh, we're not talking about that.
Yeah. We talked last meeting 3 weeks ago about cellular 911. Asked everyone to think it over, see what we want to do. Rod, I know you had talked to Chief Plunkett and he is willing to pay for half of it. And maybe we can get Chief Buck to pay for the other half. Any thoughts from
What do you
anybody
think,
else?
Just give the okay now and we'll be good.
Keep nodding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard him say yes.
You're gonna wear the pants, man, you gotta. Where you going, Lon?
I'm right here.
Okay.
Well,
The annual contract fee is $13,000 and an additional $4,500 in startup costs.
my concern has been the same concern from the jump, is
Educating residents.
educating someone to know, to hit that button, to do that. It's just as easy to educate them to call and say whatever it needs to say, to get to the right place. I mean, that's my concern. I think sounds awesome, sounds really cool. But,
Sometimes, they can't say anything when they call. There are those times, and this system gets by that. We will have the issue, as any, I'm sure, village or city that goes into this has, some people not having the technology, period. So it's something we work through. It's one of those things, I think, for the price, how much we gain is worth it. Nothing's perfect out there, nothing will get every single case, every time. But right now, we have way more mistakes than we have successes.
He called here, what, yesterday, day before, what's the day, Monday? He called Monday.
I think it's Monday, yeah.
It was about an hour-long conversation. Then he was in, BC, and he was with the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and a few of them, and he did the presentation for them because servicemen, they were trying to figure out a way that they can do that through national parks, and I guess they picked on one particular Air Force guy.
They know.
That they had to keep it really, really simple for him. You know. And if you look at it, it kind of looks like the old Firefly phones that you used to be able to get at Walmart, where it's just like 4 buttons. You can eat the grandma. If you want to call me, you hit this button here. And that's just kind of how the setup was, and they couldn't get over how simple it was. So, you know, they're moving forward with it, I guess, in the national park systems and stuff. Because if you go to one park system, if they all have it, they kind of interlink. Once you get that on your phone, it's good everywhere you go. So it was kind of neat. It just was a dissertation for a long time.
feel us as a council and mayor and everybody else, police, fire, need to do what we can for the citizens to make them safe. And we know there's an issue. And it looks like, you're right, nothing's perfect, nothing ever will be perfect, but it seems like this might be a way. And it might turn out not to be, but right now it's all we have, possibly correct.
Well, there's no plan that I've heard of that could get us around the dispatch snafus. There's just no way around it, other than this.
Not as long as you got cell towers like that.
Right.
And where we're located,
Yeah,
makes it
Yeah.
worse.
and that technology is not gonna be enhanced for some time.
So the total cost, including the original installation fees, was again, how much annually after that?
The annual contract is $13,000 and a one-time $4,500.
17,000 the first year and then 13,000 afterwards.
Didn't Chief Plunkett say that they would be willing to waive the 4,500 if
He
you
did.
would?
And that's what him and I
For
talked
him?
about yesterday,
Okay,
because I'll get him in front of some other people.
I haven't told you.
Yes, I know.
Plus they will help, he said they would
Marketing.
help marketing and teaching people too.
They have
so-
one girl that's her job.
Yeah.
Well, then I'd like to ask Mr. Carpenter to prepare legislation for the next meeting. And in the meantime, maybe we can talk to Chief Buck. Or you can just tell him.
Great, wow. Can you handle that, my man? He'll be like, you're never going again.
Any other new business?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Roll call on adjournment?
Mr. Molina,
Yes?
Mr. Silverston?
Yes.
Mr. Wiggins?
Yes.
Mr. Fowler?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Condit?
Yes.